Morning. Morning. Thank you, and welcome to day 2 of the South Hub meeting. I always appreciate the people that stay all the way, to the end. You know who your true diehards are. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, welcome back. We're going to start off again talking with 2 of our working groups this morning. One about the Cyber Infrastructure Working Group and the Social-Cybersecurity Working Group. And then we're going to hear from an industry panel that have been involved in the Hub and how that involvement could go forward and what opportunities we're looking at. And really looking at data science as the translator ambassador role that it plays in the community right now of being a translator between disciplines and also bringing in techniques to new places. So we're interested always in how we can collaborate and how we can also set up good spaces for that collaboration and ambassador role to take place. So I'd like to introduce someone who's been doing that role for many years, Niall Gaffney, who is the who is the Director of Data Intensive Computing at the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure for SISE.
No, I'm at TAC.
At TAC, yes. Your bio. Yeah, I was like thinking, you're there too?
No.
At TAC, Texas Advanced Computing Center. And Niall's background largely revolves around the management and utilization of large, inhomogeneous scientific data sets. And he has a background in prior work for 13 years as a role as a designer and a developer for archives housed at the Space Telescope Science Institute, which holds data for the Hubble Space Telescope, Kepler, James Webb Space Telescope missions. He's also had 20 years of Hubble Space Telescope data to create some of the most sensitive astronomical data products available for open research. His prior work has at the project with the McDonnell Observatory in West Texas, where he started working to create systems to acquire and handle storage and distribution of data that was produced. He now works with projects across many disciplines in bio, in computing, and looking at oceanography and looking at water for Texas. And they're building huge, fantastic new systems at TAC. So they actually just got awarded a new supercomputer that's coming online. And it's going to be large scale, blue water scale. So he knows all of the things about cyber infrastructure and how to manage data at scale for science and for other things. So I would like to welcome Niall.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I probably don't deserve all of it because nowadays I get to manage PowerPoint. How did we get there? Okay. So yeah, I'm a recovering astronomer. And now I get to pretend that I understand biology, civil engineering, oceanography, because, if you understand the universe, the rest of it is just details. But so I'm here today to sort of first answer this question, which is a question, I think, before you're going to attend a cyber infrastructure working group, you probably ought to understand what a cyber infrastructure is. And it's one of these things that a lot of folks explain it. It's kind of like art, when you see it, but it's more than that. So I work at the Texas Advanced Computing Center, and we have a lot of machines. I could spend 10 minutes on this slide alone talking about architectures and complaining about vendors and all those sort of things. But we run a lot of different pieces that support cyber infrastructure, ranging from systems that are tuned for large storage and high I/O rates, like Wrangler, where we do work with massive data sets that we are analyzing, to throughput computing on many of the other systems, to long-term storage, to online distribution of data. But those are merely pieces of a cyber infrastructure, because it's like just having a screwdriver does not make you a carpenter. You need all the other pieces. A lot of people will also go out and say, well, a cyber infrastructure has to do with a framework or software. And we support a lot of different machine learning, deep learning. There are probably about another 20 things on here. It's more and more a NASCAR slide every day. But there are a lot of common pieces that people look at of software that would describe a part of a CI, but that really isn't what a CI is. It isn't about everybody deciding that we're all going to use R and exchange code and data in that format. And so it's more than that. So it's always been a complicated problem. And so I found this slide. I've forgotten about it. This slide actually goes back about 14 years to the previous incarnation of the NSF system that supports a lot of the cyber infrastructure called Exceed today. It was back then called TerraGrid, when grid computing was thought to be the way forward. And it really is, this is a ripoff of, the blind man and the elephant. But this was sort of, if you go and you talk to people all around the area, even 14 years ago, everybody was thinking about it as being the components of all of this, because that's sort of that's the part that gets the headlines, I would say, more than anything else. But really the infrastructure is the elephant. It's the whole, tusks to tail here, plus a lot of other components in there that are needed to make any one of those pieces useful. And so a system on itself sucks down a lot of power, but outside of that, there are some people that can run on it bare metal, but a lot of it really is to build an infrastructure to make all of that. And so really a cyber infrastructure, to me, is much more about the orchestration of all of these parts, which is going to lead to discovery. And that's much more than just being able to say that you have bragging rights to, we hope soon, the #5 system in the world at TAC. Without all the other pieces, that doesn't matter. It also, people, I think this is where people get confused as well, is that CI takes many different forms. And that can be anything from, having common software installed and common practices and using a command line interface, which has been sort of the traditional way for going back, since we've had a command line for orchestrating cyber infrastructure. But these days, more and more, it's about making it so that it's approachable and the interfaces work with people. And so it's not just, this is, the Googles of the world have spoiled it for those of us who like to run on the command line. And they want to make things so that it's intuitive and useful and accessible, all the things that you really should do. And so it's the assimilation of all of these parts, the simulation, machine learning, but all of these tuned in a way by, as Renata was talking about, the data scientists and other folks, the cybercomputer human interface people, to do all of this, to do end-to-end data management and allow for collaboration and reuse, and all the things that we want to do with data, all the fair practices, and more. So really, what is a cyber infrastructure? It really is a stack of all three of these things. And you need to have all of them present at some level, whether that's through a PI and some graduate students building up a small, I should say, cyber infrastructure for the lab, all the way to national facilities that are supporting things. It's about bringing together people that understand how to make these things go, the systems, which are often the easy part, and then different technologies, but then a lot of work with people and often face-to-face to get these things going. And at TAC, we're fueled by tacos, because Austin, Texas loves their tacos. So I'm here to sort of put out a shingle for the working group that I'm leading, which is the Big Data Hub's Cyber Infrastructure Working Group. And what we do is we try to introduce people to different forms of cyber infrastructure, to different approaches to cyber infrastructure and different uses of cyber infrastructure. And these are sort of they're larger than put them on a bumper sticker, so these are more sort of the things you'd hang on the wall. But these are the pieces of our charter to increase awareness of what cyber infrastructure and what big data are. Because those are topics that get confused and conflated between people, and if we can agree on at least what we're talking about, often we can put things together across a national community and make things work at larger scales. helping to identify the gaps. We don't have all the answers, and we're never going to have all the answers. What we need to do is we need to talk to people who are using systems and who have data to find out what they need and what they want. And you know, sometimes that is listening to them and building what they are saying they're needing, and sometimes it's about bringing other people in to show them what's being done in other fields where collaboration and cross-pollination can take place. And then recruiting and educating new communities. And this, I think, is the big one because there's so much data out there and it's growing, you know, exponentially every year. But bringing together people so that we can pair up capacity, capabilities, and needs to go out and look for new research that can be done that people thought might not have been done before. And of course, funding opportunities that go behind that because, you know, unless we keep the lights on, research doesn't happen. We have monthly meetings, and it's every Friday. It's first Fridays at 4 p.m., so it's a nice way to start to finish off the end of the day of your first Friday before going out and enjoying that first weekend of the month, or as my boss likes to say, the only 2 more days till work days until Monday. Anyone can attend. This is not a working group in the sense of sign up for a working group and get assigned tasks. This is fun. This is, you show up, let Carl know, there's an email here, I've got linked in the slides again later on, but you know, let Carl know and he can put you on the invitation, which basically gets you the Zoom information so that you can join. Come when you can, don't when you can't. And we start off with about 30 minutes of discussion of the working group, what's going on in the different areas of cyber infrastructure that are associated with the hubs, looking for collaborations, you know, looking for problems, just discussions amongst people who are attending. A lot of the sort of needs and matchmaking go on at this point. And then we have the fun part, and we move the fun part to the end so that we get the business done. But the fun part of these lightning talks, and we have somebody come in from various different fields or communities or even at state level institutions and give us a 20-minute talk about what they do and what their data problems are or what their solutions are and what data they need. Or even vendors can come in and talk about some of the solutions that they have out there that are unique and being used in research today, but people may not be aware of. I like this one because it was involved in this in the city of Austin. We all complain about traffic, but Austin's growing at such rates, it's probably similar to it. It's not as bad as Atlanta traffic. Nothing's as bad as Atlanta traffic. But the idea here is to be able to use the city of Austin is working with the Center for Transportation Research at UT Austin to be able to use the videos that come off of the poll feeds and identify without keeping the video what's going on in an intersection. So you actually catalog cars and people and buses, and if we sit here and stare at it long enough, a bus comes along and you'll see it gets circled in purple. There's somebody who'll be wandering around on the corner in a minute. But the thing is, then what you can do is you can save these time series of events at intersections and use these for doing, you know, safety. You know, like, is it really good for that bicycle to be rolling down the middle of the road like that? You know, making maps like the one down below where you can see sort of density of where people are walking and interacting and look for problems without having to save all this video and being able to even use just the indexable database to go and sift through to look for some of these things. So they did that, and here's sort of an example of some of the things that they uncover that they really hadn't thought about. Now, I could have answered this question just because I live about a mile down this road, but they were looking at pedestrian traffic here. They're putting in this new crossing pattern here. They wanted to make sure that it was in the right place and that it was going to make the intersection safer. And they noticed this little prehensile tail coming off of where a lot of people seem to be jaywalking across the road. Now this is a major road in Austin. They probably took this picture, you know, at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning to get rid of all the cars. So it's normally packed. But the one thing that would have clued me in as to what it was, because I drive up and down it, is that sign right there, which is you've got a 2-lane highway with no shoulders, things going down the middle, and a Subaru dealership off to the side. Well, the answer to what this was is that if you drive them down this road, you find out that these big truck carriers come along and they have to go and do things. And so this pedestrian was detected walking down and lowering the back end, and he's almost hit twice. This car has to swerve out and then swerve back in to not hit him and make this left-hand turn right after where he's stopping. So this is evidence that I would use that they need to get the car lots off of Burnett Road in Austin. But this is the sort of thing that you can do with these things. And so the city of Austin's working with us and working with folks through the hub. We had some folks from, I believe, Massachusetts who gave sort of a state level view on some of these things at the same time. Design Safe is another project that we have. This is one that is being run out of the Civil Engineering Department at the University of Texas. I'm touting all my home stuff largely just because I had the slides. There's a lot of other good stuff going on. But this is a part of the Inheri NSF-funded project, which is a large-scale facility project pulling together all sorts of natural hazards measurements in civil engineering, dealing with flooding from hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, when things go horribly wrong. And it's linking things at all sorts of different levels, from the material level where you might go and look at cracks in cement to wave tanks and other things that are measured, to pulling in things that happen when a hurricane comes or when an earthquake comes, modeling and simulation of all of these things. It's a complex problem, and you want to build an environment that allows people to work together, and that's what this Design Safe project is to do, is to build this. And so working with Ellen, they've constructed this portal, and this is a nice piece of cyber infrastructure because it allows people to bring in data, and so you have sort of an area where all your data resides. And you can bring it into multiple places, so it's integrated into things like Box and Dropbox and all those good things. But the nice thing is then you have projects where you can collaborate with people. And when you're collaborating with people, there's a folder that's shared across the group of people that are doing things, and you can have data that's distributed in here. I didn't grab the slide to show how you can then act on this data, but if you go up to Research Workbench up above and click on it, there are some 20 or 30 different applications in here where you can take data and in the nice GUI point and click sort of way, drop data into different applications, whether it's large-scale modeling that's going to be running on multiple nodes of Stampede 2, or just a simple R notebook where you want to go through and do some statistical analyses of things. You get all that, and then all that is captured and shared with people, and then eventually is turned into what they have as publications coming out of here, where you can put an abstract on all this, but capture all of the flow and all the things that happen to the data, and even get a digital object, a DOI, a digital object identifier, because this is going to be a permanent record, and this becomes then a scholarly record that goes with this data that people outside of the project can come and find and see and use and even reuse for their own research. So a really nice piece of cyber infrastructure there. Other ones here, just sort of to put up, I was going to try and get a few of these, but the slides were all in PowerPoint. Were not in PowerPoint, they were in PDF, and so it was hard to transport. But we've had folks, in fact, this week, or last week, I guess it was, who came in all the way from Italy, from HPE, and they were talking about some of the cyber protection software and philosophies that they are going forward with this CRISP project that they have. Which was very interesting, the ability to limit roles and access to data, which is becoming more and more important as more and more sensitive data is being analyzed, whether it be HIPAA or FERPA or FISMA, or they all start with Fs except for ITAR, and the difference is one you get sued, one you go to jail. Neither of them are fun. But so a lot of work around that. Ray Adisiak came in from Renzi to tell us a little bit about HydroShare, which is a community doing hydrology measurement across the country, but then how they can use that piece of cyber infrastructure where they store all that data to advance other fields that have similar needs but aren't looking at just water. We had an hour-long talk from Shane Glass from Google, who came in and showed us a lot about the cloud offerings that they have, including Bigtable, and the desire for some of the cloud operators to work very closely with folks to bring data in and even do open data sets that are hosted in the different cloud providers. Jim came in and showed us, Jim's from the Northeast Big Data Hub. He came in and showed us the cyber infrastructure that they have around agroinformatics. So, how you deal with the fact that even crops these days are big data because they're all wired up and there are measurements coming off of all of that. Integrated material and design work, so sort of going back to materials, but this is at a different scale or a different purpose. This is about building things, not finding out why they fell down. And so that's what Ben came in and talked to us about. The commissioner from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health came in and gave us a very interesting talk about how data management and data can be used to help address the opioid abuse epidemic that's going on in the country. Matthew Lang came in and told us about food informatics and the underpinnings of the emerging, I need to learn to copy and paste better, but it basically was telling us about how food information can be handled coming in from the fields and all the way into how we get better food to all the people. And then the last one, which I was involved with Christine Kirkpatrick, who is one of the co-chairs of the West Hub, we gave sort of a rundown of the work that we had been involved in collaborating. We were working at TAC with the state of Texas and FEMA, and Christine was working, getting data through to all sorts of folks through different channels. But during the Hurricane Harvey event, where Harvey parked over Houston and dumped lots and lots of water on it, what did we do and how could we build better cyber infrastructure pieces to help support some of these natural disaster areas where you need to get information to the right people at the right time, real time while they're happening. So again, those are the sort of things that we talk about, and they're a lot of fun. We have this virtual meeting every first Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern where anyone can attend. There's Carl's email again. So K-Gustas, there's an S, at rensi.org. Come, listen, fly on the wall is fine. Send graduate students, send postdocs, send undergraduate students who are interested in data science and interested in cyber infrastructure and how to put these pieces together. That's, I think the first thing to do, but, bring a problem or an idea. So if you've got a proposal you're thinking of doing, or if you've got a data set that you can't handle, or if you have an application that needs data, tell us what you got, and we can definitely help match people up and figure out how these things can be used and reused in different ways. And if you're really feeling bold, come give a lightning talk about all the great work that's going on across the hub. You don't have to have a cyber infrastructure to do this. Poll videos that somebody's done some analysis on traffic was a fascinating talk in need of a cyber infrastructure. So come for the lightning talks and leave with some CI is sort of, I think that should be our motto that we can put on a bumper sticker. And so with that, that's sort of an introduction and overview to what the working group is doing, and I'll turn it over for any questions.
So how many people do you have on that?
There are usually about 20 people on a call. Sometimes, depending on the call, we can get up to 30. We have some regular offenders, but not many. It really is sort of come as you can because it is such an informal setting. But we have a lot of, I shouldn't say repeat offenders. We have people come back. It's not as though we get 20 new people every week. That would be bad. But we have a core constituency that shows up, and we've had hundreds all told.
The Google group is about 80.
So, but people bring their friends, and so it's regular turnover, and we do sort of a roll call at the beginning for new folks so that we get to know each other.
Can you give people just a quick sense of who shows up, like at different levels of knowledge of cyber infrastructure?
Well, there's me who knows how to drive PowerPoint, so I'm at the low point here. But we get other folks that come in and do these pieces. We have a lot of folks that have applications that are, potential solutions for other folks. I'd say that's probably about half the group. people with potential solutions. And then we have people coming in. I'd say, every week every month there's somebody coming in who has a new data problem that they just want to find out what's out there for. There's probably one or two, and those, that new each time at that level. I think we do get some postdocs that come in, but I'd really like to see, even because we all know that research happens when graduate students steal each other's notes or software or whatever. I'd really like to start getting some of those folks in as well, or maybe even spin some of that off for that. But it's a good, lively mix of people. But as I say, it's probably half right now people who have some piece of something that they want to show off and have people adopt, and then the other half is people adopting it. Is that about right, Carl, you think? It's always hard because everybody I see is in this little window, and as I introduced to all sorts of people here in this room that I haven't met before, everybody's much larger than 1 inch. And that's the other thing, we do want to have in-person meetings. I didn't mention that in here, but we're going to try and have a BOF that's going to be co-hosted with the folks who are doing the open storage network. And we want to do sort of a cyber infrastructure working group at the PRACE meeting, which is going to be in Chicago at the end of July. So do a discussion on existing and other pieces of cyber infrastructure and collaborations in person, which are always good.
Thank you. Great presentation. So I'm going to ask you a really hard question, because we've been interacting on how we can work together, and it takes people, it takes time, and we're all really busy, and so getting on the bandwagon to actually do stuff takes time.
Yes.
It's not like you can just jump on, and it's actually as difficult as mixing PowerPoint and PDFs.
Yes, it is. And that's why I would go to, that's the important part, is the people. You notice there are more people on that slide than there are. And that is the hard part, which is why I was mentioning the in-person. Because you and I sitting down for 15 minutes while I had to snarf down a bagel was, I hope, productive. And we hope to sort of do that as well. And so the hubs have been kind enough to help bring us together and bring centers together out of all of this.
Yeah, but how do you like that? So train people into
Can I put on my TAC hat real quick? So, no, it's not. So I'll put on my TAC hat now. We do a lot of training at TAC on these pieces. We have online courses that we do many times a year on everything from how to log into a system, how to use a portal, to how to write large-scale MPI codes. And that's great, but that's usually, again, everybody's about that tall. PowerPoint slides with some demos that you may go off and run. And there's some information that comes out of that at the half-day level. But the real interactions are at meetings, and so that's why I try and come to as many of these as I can, and get people talking. At TAC, we also have, though, I think about 8 different summer institutes, we call them, but they actually, now that we have 8, you can actually do them all in the summer, ranging from everything from how to build a cluster to how to do data analytics. Week-long course, come stay in Austin in the summer. It's cool, trust me. Rarely gets above 110. But coming and working with people in person and doing that hands-on is often also what's needed. There's also some folks who are doing the Science Gateways, which is part of a funded project out of the NSF, led by folks from San Diego and TAC. And they do a lot of workshops and pieces for people who are trying to build cyber infrastructure and need the technology. But a lot of this is collaboration at this level. And these are also some of the topics that come up. What meetings should we get together at next so that we can sit down and do these things? And that's stepping back into this realm. That's what this meeting is also about, is getting people together in person.
Well, very talk, and many people actually do cyber infrastructure workshops, and how yours is different is my question. data sets?
So well, the hubs can answer that, but I think the answer is they're acting more as facilitators on all of this, so I'll act as one of the facilitated. We at TAC have, well, everything that we do at TAC is open source. I'll just state that first and foremost, from how we manage our clusters to the infrastructure that we use for running our portals and gateways. The complexity is in running those, I would say, more often than open source. So, you know, being open source is the modern, the check is in the mail. It is open source, but running it is hard. I mean, you know, running a system is, and so we also collaborate with folks on building these pieces out at TAC. So we run probably somewhere north of 30 different gateways at this point, all leveraging different architectures and infrastructure pieces. And we collaborate, you know, we have co-funding coming from folks to help support all of this. We also have a lot of open source data. So one of the systems that we have is Corral. Corral has over 200 different collections, and they're collections that we don't own. They're collections that people have brought in. But you know, I think the data that's held in there for many of the different projects are available publicly. So.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Niall again for his talk. Thank you. Okay. So next, well, actually, it's going to be webcast. The next person is joining us via the web stream. This is Kathleen Carley, who is the chair of our Social-Cybersecurity working group through the hub. So we're going to pull her up.
Yeah, I'm going to take this out so they don't see my screen.
It's fine, just do it. It's fine.
Okay.
Because I don't know if it takes a while to put back in. So this is also a monthly working group. So we will, and they meet again. It's the same email, so you should keep Carl's email if you want to be a part of this working group as well, the cyber infrastructure or the social cybersecurity working group or the cyber infrastructure working group. To get on those lists, you would email Carl, who's at the back of the room right here. Can you raise your hand, Carl, so people know you? There you go. All right.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Yes, it's me.
Okay, perfect. Can you share your screen with us? Or
Your video?
Okay, my screen should be
Would you like to show
sharing.
your video first so that we can see you?
Okay.
Hi, we see you. Hi.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you see the screen? Okay. Okay, you don't see the screen. Okay. I'll turn back on the video, but I don't think that's on. Are you seeing the screen now? Yeah, this is exactly what I did earlier. So it says it's sharing the screen and that you have it from this end. I have a way of putting up the slides there and I can just talk to them. Yes? Hello? Yeah, I'm showing it the same way I showed it earlier when we checked it out. It's saying the same exact